Hello and welcome to this edition of FYI. I'm Elaine Chang Baxter, the Director of Partnerships for Montgomery County Public Schools. With us today in the studio is Jackie Khelawan. Jackie is a pupil personnel worker at 4 different schools. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you tell us what a pupil personnel worker is? And I know that commonly people refer to your role as a PPW.
That's correct. So pupil personnel worker, we are specialists that are, we assess student needs. Our job is very varied. But it really it falls around 4 major function areas. So we do serve as advocates. We are also consultants for schools and school staff. We serve as liaisons, and we serve as referral sources for families.
Wow. And you were also talking about the backgrounds of PPWs. Can you just share typically backgrounds that PPWs probably bring to the position?
Yes, so we do bring a variety of expertise. We are master's level positions, so prior to our work as pupil personnel workers, many of us come from different roles. So I was a resource school counselor prior to this and also a teacher. But we also have former administrators, former resource teachers for special education, and we do have also former social workers as well.
Right, so really strong backgrounds for the role that you guys are in.
So our job really requires us to have a specialized background so that we understand how to navigate some complicated issues with students and families.
Sure. Can you give us an example, maybe one each, of the 4 main roles that you just shared? So you said you are advocates, you're consultants, you're liaisons, and you're referral. Can you just give an example of what each one of those looks like? So for an advocate?
So we do advocate. We advocate for students and families. We are really working to break down barriers to students at academic success. So if we're advocating for families, that might look like we are working to help support students coming to school, advocating for them to receive the necessary supports to help them become successful in school. So that might look like working with families around helping to support them with the IEP process or 504 process. Advocating for students to come to school regularly, so supporting regular school attendance, advocating to help students to access necessary programs that will help them to succeed.
Okay, and then consulting?
So we do consult with school staff. We serve as consultants, so we do need to be very knowledgeable around specific county policies, school policies. So there might be questions where a school staff member might reach out to a pupil personnel worker when it comes to compulsory student attendance, school attendance. Right. So, you know, we are well versed in school law. So, you know, we do serve as consultants where school staff would need to reach out to us to ask those questions around what would be appropriate or what would be, you know, the right way to go about following through with procedures regarding students.
Okay. And then what about liaison as a liaison?
So we are liaisons as well. We do forge relationships between the home, the school, and the community. So we case manage students through different processes. Maybe they're coming back from a DJS placement, and we serve as, you know, case managing and helping them through the intake process. We also case manage students that are accessing different programs, such as alternative programs within the county. We do support with homeschool reviews. So, you know, those would be some examples of how we serve as a liaison between the home and the school and also the community.
Sure. And then when you mention referral system, what are you referring to?
So we do provide referrals for families. Referrals could look like maybe the family is going through a financial hardship, so we might, you know, give a referral for food. We also might be able to refer families for therapy, for some wraparound services. So those are some examples of how we serve as a referral source for families for the different community resources that they can access.
Wow, okay, wealth of information.
Yeah.
Now, pupil personnel workers are 12-month employees?
Yes, we are, so we do work full year.
Okay, and so parents that are assigned to your particular school can access you all the time?
They can, yes.
Okay, and then all schools have a pupil personnel worker?
Yes, so we are assigned to all schools. We do have a primary secondary school that our office is located out of, but we also are assigned to elementary schools, yes. So I personally have 4 different schools that I serve.
Okay, and typically do most PPWs have 4 different schools, or is it based on the number of students at each of the schools to figure out the case management load?
So the case management load is determined through our director, but yes, it does vary. So it could have some PPWs who have like a high school that has a larger caseload, might just have 1 elementary. So it could range from 2 to 5, 5, maybe 6. I think there might be one with 6.
Do some PPWs have more, let's say, secondary schools in their case management if that's their background versus elementary, or do all of them have elementary, middle, and high?
So the secondary school, we are assigned 1, so either middle or high school.
But every PPW has a secondary school?
Yes, either 1 or 2. So there are a few PPWs that are assigned to 2 middle schools, but there will be a PPW only assigned to 1 high school, and then there are a number of elementary schools as well.
Okay. And how are students identified to receive support from a pupil personnel worker?
Well, it really depends. Sometimes it could be, or I would say commonly, students might be identified through attendance concern. So that could be a reason why we would be asked to help support a student and the family, especially since attendance is one of our primary emphasis. You know, with regard to helping students to come to school on a regular basis.
Sure.
So attendance could be a reason. Homelessness is another reason. So we do help to support students who are dealing with housing instability. Their families need support in getting them enrolled so that they can maintain stability with their schooling and their education. We also might be utilized in terms of helping students to enroll. So we are, you know, there are some complicated situations around enrollment for students. So some different types of enrollment situations might require us to do like a home visit to verify the residency, or you know, we might have to work with an outside agency if the student is in foster care to help support enrollment. So that might be some ways that the school might want to reach out and utilize our support.
And what does a typical day look like in your role? And I was just thinking about from a staff and a family perspective, since you're assigned to different schools, strategize, you know, is it better for them to try to access you or contact you on the days that you're assigned to that school, or can they leave a voicemail and then you'll just do your best to try to reach back to them, since you know, you've got 4 schools on your caseload?
That's a good question. Our typical day, we don't really have a typical day. Every day is very, very different.
Sure.
Pupil personnel workers are constantly out in the field. We are regularly doing home visits. We are in the communities helping to work with families. We are also at our different schools working with school staff to help support, you know, complicated issues or complex matters that are impacting student achievement. So a typical day, it really varies. You know, I cannot answer that for all PPWs. It could be that we are doing home visits. It could be that we are in meetings. It could be that we are at alternative programs doing an intake for a student to come back. So because our role is so varied, our day is very varied as well.
Sure. But you probably enjoy that about your day too, then no 2 days are the same.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we do. It is every day is very, very different.
Right.
You know, and something, if a crisis comes up, we are helping to support the student in crisis.
Right.
So, you know, I had a crisis situation earlier in the week with a homeless family. So I had to help to support, you know, having them access the transportation and setting that up and completing the necessary forms so that they could continue at the school.
Right, so then you had to prioritize and shift.
So sometimes if a crisis does arise, we do have to prioritize and put some of the things that we had on our agenda, you know, on the back burner.
Sure. So being that community members will be watching this show, what's the best way for them to find out who's the PPW at their school, and then how would they get in touch with the PPW?
So we do want, and we work to build relationships with all of our families. You know, we are accessible to all of our families if they need us for reasons around financial instability. They need to access community resources around counseling or therapy. They need help for their child to support regular school attendance. They have questions around, you know, the IEP or the 504 process or any other, you know, county policies. So we are working out of the Office of Student and Family Support and Engagement. We are in the Department of Pupil Personnel and Attendance Services, so they can call our office, but they could also go to their school and they can ask who is the assigned PPW for the school.
Okay, great. So I guess we want to end by saying every school has a pupil personnel worker and a very important role for the school system, and we're so thankful for your work. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. I'm Elaine Chang Baxter, the Director of Partnerships. Join us next time on FYI.